This lesson is about general and specific terms. And when we use the word term in this lesson, in this context, we're talking about words and ideas. Munachim. Now, all words are either general or specific in relation to each other. So you can't really decide if a word is general or specific unless you have other ideas, other words that you're relating them to. So let's look at some examples. So this diagram illustrates how we have a large general group, and then within this large general group, this domain, we have what is called eukarya. And within the eukarya, we have a kingdom called Animalia. And within this kingdom of Animalia, we have a phylum. So this is a smaller group within this larger group. And the phylum is called Chordata. And then within that phylum, we have a class. These are the mammals. And within that class, we have an order. And within that order, we have a family. And it's becoming smaller and smaller in scope. And we get down to a genus. And then we get down to the species. And this particular species is the red fox. Now notice the word species is a lot like the word specific, because species is one of the smaller, most specific groups of animals. There actually is a smaller group, more specific than species, called subspecies, but that's not really what this lesson is about. So, but this illustrates how we go from general all the way down to something very specific. Now let's look at an example of a vehicle. If we use the word vehicle, it's a very general word, and it could mean lots of different things. It could be a bus. It could be a truck. It could be a car. It could be a motorcycle. It could be a bicycle. It could be a scooter. It could even be a skateboard, because vehicle actually just means something you use to transport yourself or transport something from one place to another. So if we just use the word vehicle, it's pretty hard to share a common idea with someone else so that they understand what you're talking about. But within vehicles, we could talk about cars. And now we're getting more specific. And this actually does help someone else understand better what you're talking about, but it's still very general because there are so many different kinds of cars. So within a group of cars, you could have a particular type of car, and this particular type of car is SUV. So now we're getting a little bit more clear about what we're talking about, and the person, if you're sharing this idea with someone else, they could perhaps start picturing the SUV in their mind. And then you could become even more specific, and you could talk about a BMW SUV. And you could even start describing it. And when you give a description, like giving it a color, then you start becoming very specific. When you start listing the features, you could say that it is an orange BMW SUV with a luggage rack. Right here at the very top here, on top of the car, is a luggage rack. You could say it's a pumpkin orange, which is a particular shade of orange. So you could even be specific about the color. It's a pumpkin orange BMW SUV with a luggage rack, with heated bucket seats, a powerful engine, and new standard features. So now it's so much easier to visualize this car, this vehicle, and understand what someone is talking about. So you can go from very general all the way to very specific. And the way to know if a word is general or specific, you just need to understand its relationship with other words. Because it could be general or specific depending on what you're comparing it to. So if you're just talking about a vehicle, that would be general, and a car would be more specific. But if you're talking about a car, that would be general. The BMW is more specific. So there's just basically a spectrum going down to more specific or going up to general, depending on the relationship of the words. The last example here is furniture. When we talk about furniture, we could mean all kinds of things. Then we could talk more specifically about a chair, which could still mean all kinds of things, but we could be even more specific and talk about a rocking chair. And even a rocking chair there could be many different types of rocking chairs, and we could be even more specific than that. So once again, all words are either general or specific in relation to each other.